Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Ann. Disembodied Hands, Quinty, Disembodied Beard, John, and apparently Reaper scheduling issues. So question mark? That's what I'm hearing about Reaper Live. Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's surprising that they wouldn't go to the trade show, but maybe something came up or somebody got sick, right? Pardon me. Quinty, take your allergy meds. It's still full of allergies here. Ugh. So full of allergies. Yep. Yay. But we have a bee. And the bee is very, very, very dark. So today, I'm going to use some pure black on Mr. B. And I'm going to highlight his darks, I think. I want those darks to come out. Canceled due to illness. Yeah, I was going to say, because Gamma's pretty big. So, I mean, it's something Reaper likes to do. So, it would have to be somebody key getting sick to really push it off. Well, that's a bummer. If illness, then maybe not Reaper Live. I guess we'll find out, huh? We shall find out. So the nice thing about using black indigo for the black, quote-unquote, parts of the bee is that I can actually shade it with black. When I used it, I thought that I was going to like it more than I do, but now I think I feel like it needs a shadow, so... It needs to have some actual black in there along with my black indigo, in other words. So I'm going to use pure black. Oh, I mean, if you're on my Patreon, yes. Because I think I did a small details one that specifically covered, like, buckles. We've talked about it, but I don't remember. Probably, like, I mean... Obviously, we did it on Elf on the back of his shield, but that was more doing it in general. Trying to think of the last one that we did that had small NMM on tiny details. And I'm just coming up blank right now. Did not sleep great last night. It was because I had a little bit of caffeine yesterday, and I think has put paid to my sleep score last night. Oh, okay. Well then, look up, it should be keyworded. So small details, painting tiny details, painting small details. It might be under painting small details or details. So on the first page of my Patreon, there's a search box and you can search by keyword. I just don't remember, since I haven't done one featuring that topic in a while, I don't remember if I keyworded it as details, fine details, tiny details, small details, or painting small details, because sometimes I do put the painting on the front of that. So I think that when I did the small details, I did a buckle, but don't quote me on that. I don't know that I've done NMM on small details, but I have talked about it on this stream many times, and essentially it's you're not going realistic anymore, you're just going stylistic, and you're alternating dark and light Shadow Raven in a way that makes sense to you. So let's put some black on here and see what we get. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because Izzy wants all the little filigree inverter sculpts at all. Yeah. Well, we will be doing it on the 90-day model when we get to Elquin later. Let me see. I mean, I talked about it a little bit on this model, right? How to do these little sleeve bits and stuff. And this is a Bobby interpretation instead of the Werner version of the sculpt. And there isn't a lot. But you could look back on that one. Looking to see if we have any others. I think I talked about it on Illustrally because we have small gold details on her. That's why it's a challenge. Hee hee. So yeah, you could look up Illustrally too. I'm sure there are more because it's common that I use NMM because when there are small details, NMM I believe is a better choice. So I'm just going to take this black, I'm going to put it in, kind of use it to separate the yellow and the black indigo. So it's actually using black to line the black indigo. Otherwise for liner on this model I would probably reach for brown liner because of the yellow. Long time ago. Okay. Yeah, that may have, I don't know if that's got NMM in it. Hey, Raceland, thank you for the resub. 19 months. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't know that I've done fine detail NMM because you need to have the specific model to tackle it. I probably should. I know I've talked about it a ton on this stream, so probably your best bet, Shadow Raven, is going to be to look up a past model like Illustrally, find the NMM episode, or where I was doing some of that, you know, find NMM. But the thing, of course, the stream problem is that I'm not directly teaching. Maybe I just need to put that on my my docket for Patreon coming up. I suppose I could swap out my $10 this month, which was the different ways to start a mini, and do the fine detail NMM instead. Because I haven't done any basic work on that one yet, so it's easy to swap out the $10. You won't get it for a while in $2 land because $2 land is companion PDFs now. And a very, very nice companion PDF $2 people got yesterday. So I've been trying to keep them shorter since it's a $2 level, but this one went a monstrous 6 pages, most of it writing, although there are pictures. So I'm just going through and I am covering up about half, I would say, of my black indigo with the pure black. And I'm concentrating on places where the shadows are. So undersides of things. Hey, Roger. Shadow Raven, the thing to remember is you still want to follow the tenets, the basic guide to NMM that I tell you. So, like, you know, your white highlight followed by a shadow, and then blend it back up for reflected light. And you can see how I'm doing that here. White highlight, shadow, blend it back up, right? And then where I've got little filigrees, I'm just going to bring those back out to highlights and probably do a spot white highlight like I did on that one. That honestly is the way that I tackle those. It's a very stylistic way to do it. It's not realistic. But it is a way to get them done at 28 millimeter. Realistic lighting on filigree, you can do it on 28. It's just hard. It's just hard, and it's going to be one of those things where it changes depending on the model because it's very dependent on what lighting you're using and where the mini is in relation to that lighting, right? So there's no one lesson that you can give that will cover all that for every mini. It just doesn't work. So if you use the basics that I always teach you about NMM and you just apply that in general to the surface, you get something that looks fairly shiny. There we go, Eturgeon. Yay, Eturgeon. Yes, the simple rules for NMM. They're right in there. So kind of lining around and also putting this black in for shadows on this indigo. Originally, I thought I was going to like this off black better than I did, but it just wasn't reading as dark enough for me. So now I'm going back in. I mean, and my black is pretty thick here, relatively speaking. I mean, I did thin it, but pure black has such high coverage that even thinned 2:1, it's pretty opaque. But because my black indigo is so dark, it doesn't matter if the black is thick, it's still gonna be just fine. Going over some of these joins to use the black as a liner. And going to make the eyes big and glossy. The nice thing about the black indigo is that when I put the eye on, it does show up a little bit, right? So I won't touch most of the face, although I will probably get the mouth parts and I'll shade underneath them. And a little bit underneath them. Maybe around them. And a little bit around the little antennas. Underside of the antennas. I started cutting out my golden demon figure off the sprue last night, and quickly realized that I was vindicated in going very slow and kind of checking fit. In that, if I had just clumped the monster, put all the monster together, the beast, the riding beast together, there would totally be a line where parts connected that I would have had a hellish time green stuffing if I had put it together. But instead, since I just dry fitted it and looked at it, I was able to see where that was going to be. Because essentially, if you don't green stuff the animal before you put the armor plates on, you really can't, like, you can still see the seam, but you can't reach it. Not really well. Yeah, black indigo is a color I recommended keeping. You could put it in a triad with rich indigo and icy violet. You could also sub night sky indigo instead of rich indigo if you wanted a more muted indigo in that triad. Boop. Alrighty. Yeah, I like black indigo. I just didn't like it as much using it principally for the black on Mr. B. So bringing in this other black is bringing the pure black and shading with it is working for me. I was late this morning because David lost his glasses, like couldn't find his glasses this morning. And Kiki's walk got delayed, and I'm just like, take the dang dog for a walk and I'll look for them when I get out of the shower. And the first thing I had asked him was, did you check to see if they've fallen down beside the bed? And he's like, yes, I've checked everywhere. So we go back and he rechecks, and sure enough, they have fallen down. After all this searching around, during which my morning has gotten delayed, it turns out they're right there next to the bed. Worse, this very morning he had found a set of earbuds that he had thought that he totally lost by finding them down right beside the bed. So I don't know how he found those and didn't find his glasses. Like... Oh yeah, meeting. Bye, Crowley. Got distracted by the earbuds. Those things. Earbuds are pesky. If you aren't good at putting them right back in their containers, they tend to run away. The funny thing is that David is very, very focused. Like, he does have great focus, but I feel like his focus, like, he's looking for exactly the thing he's looking for, and he's not noticing anything else. Whereas I'm looking for a thing that I'm looking for, but I also take note if there's anything else. No, because he was missing them since this very first thing this morning. Because he puts them on before he takes Kiki for a walk, so one of the first things he puts on after the shower. I don't know. It was funny. It was just funny, though. It's like, wait, you found your earbuds almost in exactly the same place, but you didn't find your glasses right next to them that were the thing you actually were looking for. It's just amusing. I'm sure I have plenty of amusing quirks, too. Yeah. It's funny how we lose those things in weird places. I can almost always, as long as I've gotten very good because I do tend to misplace things. I've gotten very, very good at backtracking exactly what I've done in the previous several hours. So my second question to him after I asked if he had looked beside the bed was to ask, well, when did you last have them? For me, this is a natural question because, like I said, I lose things. And so I always, like, kind of have trained myself to look back. But David just kind of wanders through life thinking about stuff. So it makes him very good at thinking about stuff. But yeah, he could not tell me all the places he'd been. Or when he last remembered wearing them. So bee wings are kind of smoky, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. Smoky, smoky bee wings. I almost need to go with like... I'm not sure. Yeah. So we'll think about how to do... Maybe I'll do something interesting with blue. Not sure. Alright, B. Let's get some highlights on your black, B. So I could just use an indigo to do this, but if I do that, it's going to be a lot of color. That's not a bad thing. It's just like, what's your plan? What are you aiming for? Myself, I want to mute this out a little bit, so I'm going to just add white to the black indigo, which is going to give me a gray. Right. Yeah, Quindy. I am also that person, but every once in a while if something weird happens and I'm distracted in the middle of executing on a loop, that's when I can get in trouble. So that's why I've gotten in the habit of backtracking in my brain. So we're going to start with just a mix of 4 drops of black indigo and 1 of pure white. We're going to see. So I started a meditation. I've been wanting to go and start a meditation practice again for a while. I had one when I first moved out here, but it was a more traditional meditation practice. Like I would go out to the fountain at our apartment complex and I would meditate for at least 10 minutes just to de-stress, because that was when Kiri was getting bad and there was a lot of stress. But this new meditation practice is different. And the reason I bring it up right now is that I think it's going to help me keep from losing things and misplacing things and just generally stuff like that. So what I'm doing is, instead of meditating, I'm taking a time, usually around lunch or around my walk with Kiki, like if I'm outside and looking at things anyway, you know. And I'm trying to be present. Like I take a few moments to just really stop thinking about crap and just focus on what's around me and focus on Kiki and focus on, you know, the environment, you know, just like really get like present in myself. And that kind of thing, like that, a lot of times when we lose stuff, it's because we're just distracted, right? We're all in our own heads and we're not paying attention to what we're doing. So it's very easy for us to just misplace something or put it down in an odd weird place because we're distracted. So I'm kind of hoping that this helps with that. I read a scary thing, which I totally believe, though. The scary thing was that they did a survey and asked people what percentage of every day they were actually like just present. Like they weren't worrying about something or thinking about something that happened or planning something or distracted by something. Like they asked them what percentage of the day they were actually present in the moment, like just like feeling themselves like here now, right? Here and now. And the actual overwhelming answer was 5% or less. And that blew my mind. Like it's weird, right? Because I'm not like completely surprised by it, because that was me, right? That was me like ghosting through my days for a very long time. And only when I started actually looking at and reading about meditation did I start like trying a little bit here and there to actually concentrate, especially when I was with loved ones or with the puppy or with whatever, right? But still, that's shocking, the amount of every day that people are on autopilot. Yeah, I feel it, Hyper. Maybe it's time to put some. You could try to put some new practices in place to kind of cover yourself on that. Just like, I don't know, build a habit. I don't know what kind of habit might help. I guess it depends on what kind of things you forget. Your house eats things, yes. Well, it sounds like you have a lot of stuff, Twisted Oma. And the more stuff, having lived in a house that was full of stuff before, the more stuff you have, the easier it is to lose things. It's like you're creating random encounter tables, and for everything in your house, you have an entry on the random encounter table. So the more things you get, the less likely you're going to actually encounter the thing you need at any given moment. But yeah, medications are hard, Hyper. I'm sorry. I feel bad for you there. It can be hard to struggle when you know it's not you, right? So I'm just going to do a little bit of highlight around the eye here. I haven't really decided yet, but maybe we should do metallics on B. He doesn't have much metal, if any. Maybe just some bling on his shield and shoulder pads. He's very simple. But maybe we should do metallics, because if we do metallics, I can do a gloss black on his eyes. Yeah, journaling can help the same thing, right? At least then you're kind of concentrating on how you're feeling about stuff. Though I find that even when I journal, it's still me in my head. And that's why I like reach for the actual meditation a little bit more. Because journaling was really helpful, especially when I'm going through a stressful time. But it's helpful in a slightly different way. It's interesting. Right. Maybe ask your doc to like switch you to a different med. I don't know. Maybe there's an alternative. But it seems like just if it's scaring you and upsetting you, then that's not a good med for you. Like that would be like my call. But it's your call, of course. But side effects suck. That's just what it comes down to. I'm really sorry you have to go through that, Hyper. Nobody should have to be like scared like that. Yeah. Yeah, parks and getting outside can be good for it. I agree, Laura. Like I had to get out for my meditation and my alone walk when Kiri was at her worst because it was just too stressful. Like I needed to get myself out of my head, out of the stress and the worry. I'm wondering how much lately because I'm still like working with my diet and my stuff. All my stuff, working through all my stuff. I'm wondering lately how much not being present contributes to the eating as well, like the stress eating, because it's very much fog eating, where you're not really conscious of what you're doing. You're worried or distracted by something else, and then you go to eat because you need comfort. Like it's that kind of thing. I'm really analyzing my stress eating lately, because I want to get away from it. I'm just like I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of that little thing. And of course, though, it is an ingrained habit, so it's going to take work. It's like it's the thing I've always done, and so the brain doesn't like it when we try to change up the things we've always done. It fights us on it. That's why habits are so hard to break. But I don't know. Yeah. I don't do storm eating in general. But I really feel disassociated. Like I've been just kind of paying attention to myself, like when I do succumb, and I feel very disassociated from myself when I'm fog eating. I'm just not there. I am not. I am in fact not present. Um, so I figured it wouldn't hurt to just get more present and see if that let myself get some help with it. Oddly enough, it's CrossFit that keeps me focused on this. So I'm very thankful to it. Because I really want CrossFit to get easier, and I know that if I lose like 20 pounds, CrossFit will get easier. Because, carrying extra weight around and trying to do all that stuff, especially the cardio. So it's like, why am I doing all this work if I'm not, getting the full benefit of it? So instead of, I'm not going to stop the work because I can't imagine stopping CrossFit. Having started it now, I feel so much stronger and better in general. And I can do things generally do things more easily. But then I think, well, yeah, but if you lost some weight, it'd be even better. There we go. So I think I've got enough black. I just keep going back a little bit to touch up. That's cool, Twisted Doma. Always down for more presents. Funny. Yeah, Hyper. It doesn't sound like a great fit. I missed that, Polly. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did them on Corindra. So just go ahead and look. Like honestly, Polly, this model's not going to be a good metallics model for what you might be looking for. Because there's almost no metallics. So if you want a model that is much more an example of how I shade and highlight metallics, you want to go back and look at her. All of this is metallics. Like this is not going to be a good model for it because really it's just his it's the butt cap on the lance, and the two little shoulder pads. And if I decide to do part of this in a metallic, so it's very, very little. This is not going to be a good instruction model for that. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure about this highlight color. It's a little bit. It's a very purple, which with the yellow is going to be fine. I think I'm going to actually mix another highlight. Because I'm just like playing around with this, trying to figure out where we are. Oh, a Kiki fur has come to sit in my paint. Now I have to rescue it. There, it's out. And I might make this a little more blue. Where is my... yeah, I'll just use Glacier. Any light blue, I really... oh, need to shake it better. But yeah, I'm really fighting with my dye right now too because of the gluten thing. I don't care what people say, but for me, the minute you throw gluten and carbs back in the mix, it's 20 times harder to resist snacking. Like cravings, boom, right there. So this, what I have to do for this celiac blood test is actually going to be real hard for me. Really, really hard for me. So I mixed another color. I made it a little more blue. This is more like what I want for my highlight, but it's a bit light. So I'm going to thin it. I'll probably mix it a little bit with black as I move up, because this was just a little bit too purple for me. But yeah, so the gluten is a hard thing. There's a reason I lost like 15 pounds just from going gluten-free. That was the start of my weight loss. That was the first 15. So let's see what I can do here. I'm going to do a little bit of the purple. I'm going to do a little bit of the blue. I'm just going to use his face kind of and try to shade and highlight his face. And make a judgment call on if it looks the way that I had envisioned it. Now we're going to keep a lot of the face dark, so my highlights are going to be pretty small. And I probably will glaze with black. Yeah, carbs and cheese, yeah. Interesting. Craving salt, craving sodium. Could be a lot of different reasons for that. Sodium naturally balances out potassium in your body. So if you've been eating a lot of like fruit um, or stuff that's high potassium and you've been not eating a lot of salt, that could be something. But there are so many reasons that can happen. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I guess maybe I did a decent one on that. Be careful, be careful, Turgeon. Recommending some stuff from earlier in. I feel like a lot of my later tutorials are better, but 2022 should be fine. But like, there's earlier videos on NMM that I do not like and want to do a new set of. I feel like just they weren't very successful. So I'm doing kind of a double edge thing here, just to see how it looks. Just thinning my paint down and trying to do kind of edging like that. I think I'm just going to have to take it one day at a time with the dieting. That and the other reason for the mindfulness thing is I discovered a really interesting thought process on enacting change, on changing habits in your life and stuff like that. And it makes sense to me, so I'm kind of trying it out. And it's based around the fact that your brain really likes its comfort zone, and so when we try to make big changes in our lives, even if we're successful for a short period of time, our brain tends to eventually try to push back on us because it's not comfortable with the new thing. And that's why we can fall off the wagon so easily, and it can be pretty aggressive in pushing back too. But so this new thing is kind of like the opposite. Like, you want to have big change, but you start with a very small change. And the theory behind it is that after we try to change and fail so many times, as many of us do, with weight or with anything else, we tend to stop trusting ourselves, right? And that makes everything harder when we're trying to do this stuff. So the theory is if we make a small change that we can absolutely stick to, even though it feels like nothing to us, we can build on that small change over time and expand it in a slow manner that doesn't make our brain freak out. And also rebuild our trust in ourselves because we've had smaller successes. So I thought this was a very interesting idea. There we go. So, and I'm going to lose a lot of my black. I'm going to end up bringing a lot of it back in, but I want to get some of the detail here with his little face. So I was thinking this was a lot like how I sometimes say for you guys in painting, right? Just paint. Start a little painting habit, but don't think of it as like starting a painting habit. Like, just sit down. Try to sit down and paint for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Tell yourself, I'm just going to sit down and try to do this and see what happens, right? Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself, especially if you historically have not reacted well to pressure. But it's kind of like that, right? It's just making a small change and then, letting yourself get comfortable with it and then expanding on it a little bit. So for me, my small change to try to rebuild my trust in myself is I'm not going to grab a snack before I take Kiki on her walk. Right? So it's like between breakfast and lunch, I'm not going to grab a snack. And this is a really small and simple thing, but it's interesting to see how my brain wants to fight back against that. But I know I can do this because I made keto work, for God's sakes. If I remind myself that I've had successes in the past, that helps. So the little mouth here, I think I don't want to do that. I'm just adjusting. I'm trying to like bring in highlights but still maintain the dark look. Yeah. Made motivation follows after action. Yeah, everybody's different, of course. So some of this stuff won't work for people and some of them will work for a lot of people. Oh, it's another bag. It's another pouch. Pouch. Because he has one on each hip. Pouch. He doesn't have pockets as a bee, so he's obviously like concerned that he doesn't have all of his stuff. So he is carrying his stuff around. So I'd say that is a leather pouch. And I will paint it just like the other leather pouch matte. Yes, the actual starting is, and that's called resistance. And every single creative on the planet, in any creative pursuit, anywhere ever, has resistance. Right. Yeah, there's resistance. And it's funny because we feel resistance to things that we like. We feel resistance to doing things that we enjoy, that are good for us, that we know are going to be awesome. It makes no sense. Yeah, makes sense, Twistoma. And it's not easy to get around resistance. Like the best thing you can do is to try to springboard it off of another habit that you already have. Because if you already have one habit, and also to start with the smallest thing, because if we think about, I'm going to sit down and paint a model, then, sometimes we're going to have resistance to that. But if we think, I'm just going to go and choose the next color I'm going to use on this model. That's easy. That's lowering the bar. Very, very easy. There's no pressure there to perform. And so once we have that, I'm just going to do one little next step to prepare for the next time I paint. Then once you're there and actually setting out the thing, if you feel like sitting down, do it. And then you're sitting down. There you go. Right? Sometimes you have to trick yourself around this crap. I hate that our brains are set like this. Man. Ugh. So I need to mix up my yellow so I can do touch-ups when that's in the offing here. I think I used yellow oxide and lantern yellow. Because yellow oxide has, yes, it's habit stacking, but it's micro habit stacking, right? Because it's only getting in the habit of walking over to your painting table. And the reason it works is because walking to your painting table or your spot or looking at your stuff, there's no pressure to perform there, right? And that's why it's much easier than sitting down to paint. But once we go over there and choose a color, the urge, like the feeling of like sitting down to paint, like feeling like we could, gets usually easier, right? Because then we're there and we have the thing in our hand, we think about painting and we're like, oh, and that's a way you can kind of trick yourself past the resistance. And don't force yourself to do it. You can, but it's actually more effective if you just go and kind of play with your stuff. And then when you feel, or if you feel the urge to sit down and just do just a little, just think of it that way. I'm just going to do a little. And that removes the pressure that creates resistance, because it's absolutely putting pressure on yourself to perform, to do a thing. That's and to get you out of, it's also a pressure that gets you out of what you usually do, right? Which is why when you get invited to do a thing, even though you know it's going to be a good time, you feel resistance, right? Because it's not what you usually do. And the brain really loves us to stay in our little ruts. It really does. It's like, I know what's going to happen in this rut. There's not going to be any bad things that happen to me here. I'm going to sit here. Yeah. And your brain is totally happy and the rest of you is not. Or your subconscious, I should say, is totally happy and the rest of you is not. So I'm going to do 2 drops of the lantern yellow, 3 of the oxide. Mix it up, put a little white in it. So I can touch up my bee here. Maybe I won't put some white in it. It looks pretty good. Actually, it's that color. I put the oxide in to get better coverage with the yellow. So what happens, then your task, Hyper, is to figure out what happens, what is triggering the knot. And it could be just that, like, as you are sitting down and got the model out, you're thinking, you're putting that pressure on yourself, and you're noping out. And that's why it can help to just say, I'm just going to put a couple brush strokes on the model, and then I'm done. Essentially, do everything you can to remove the pressure. Yeah. Okay, so I went a little darker last time, but I'm going to bring this darker yellow in. I think I like this better. I am going to put a little bit of water in it. It's oxide 3.3 and then lantern 2. I needed a dark yellow with good coverage. The yellow that I originally put down went a lot browner than I wanted, so... But yeah, but maybe observe yourself there, Hyper, and like try to figure out what it is. Because there's going to be something. There's going to be some little trigger. There's going to be resistance already pushing at your brain when you're like getting your stuff out because you're you're anticipating performing the painting action. And so it's already building up, and then you nope out because it just gets too strong. You can also do the thing I suggested where you distract yourself. You put on, like, a podcast or a song or something. Like, I actually am always surprised at how upbeat music will help me to do a thing that I otherwise feel resistance to. Like, I'll just put on the music, it'll get me bopping around, and I'll just kind of be getting my stuff ready. But I'm not, like, thinking about necessarily getting my stuff ready. I'm listening to the song, right? So the resistance is kind of sidelined because I've distracted my brain. And then when I sit down and actually start to do the thing, then as you say, then it becomes easier because I'm doing the thing. So the anticipation can't make me like worried about it anymore. Oh, she's better. I canceled her follow-up vet appointment this morning. Yeah. Yep, Turgeon, that's exactly it. That's the way our subconscious minds tend to work. They want familiar because familiar is safe. Even if familiar is terrible for us. They're very bad at thinking about like the whole holistic person, subconscious minds. They just really, all they care about is the potential lion lurking in the world. The non-safe world. And unfortunately, yeah, creative stuff, like performing creative action, that can be a thing that sets off resistance big time. Like, so much so that there are entire books about it. And everybody's, like, path around resistance is going to be different. And it usually involves building a skill chain to deal with it. So it's not like there's going to be a super easy quick fix. Some of the things that I suggest can help you, can give you a clue as to how your best way to work around your resistance is. And don't give up. There's always a way around it. But also remember that, like, if you sit down and you're all ready and then you nope out, it could be that you're looking for something that isn't there. Like you're expecting it to be easy and it's not, so you stop. And that can be its own little problem because it's not easy. And it's not always going to be easy. We tend to always look for those days when we're really in the mood and everything is just awesome and smooth and we don't even have to try. And, that's our like ideal like state, right? But in reality, those are the vanishingly few days. And the rest of the days are the days when we just, do the thing because we enjoy the thing. Even if it's not easy. Even if it's not like effortless. Yeah. Yeah, that's resistance. You feel like you can't. That's exactly what it is. It's just, we all have it. I have it. Like, I have it regularly when I sit down to write. Like, I fight this as a writer. More so than mini painting, because mini painting for me, because I've been doing it for so many years, there's just this underlying note where I know I can do it. Like, and I've created that skill chain where I can execute on mini painting. But writing is rough. Yeah, I sit down and sometimes I like just feel overwhelmed and I feel like I can't, like I just can't do it. And that's a thing. And so for me, I'm in the process of figuring out how I can work around that. And it's not the same for everybody, Hyper, but there is a way somehow. There is a way somehow. Don't lose hope is what I'm telling you. And don't go, oh well, I just can't, because that's pretty much losing hope. And of course, when you mention that, you're on meds and they can really impact you, that can be part of it right there. Stress can be part of it. If there's a stress in your life, like that can absolutely kill any creative urge you got. So and I mentioned this in my in my PDF on motivation. It's like sometimes the answer is not to do it. Sometimes that's going to stick around. Like sometimes you'll get through this part of your life, or you'll switch your meds, or something new will happen, and you'll be like, oh, I can do this again, right? But there's a way out, even if it's time. With me in writing, I learned that I had to fall back on a previous habit. Like when I used to write, when I was writing East of the Sun and West of the Moon, when on my lunch at Reaper, I would go into my office, shut off all the lights, and at that time my office didn't have any windows. Shut off all the lights, light a candle, and I would write there in the dark with my candle. And that was how I got through East of the Sun and West of the Moon. Like a lot of it. Then when I went home and I did more writing in the evening, I would sit down at the kitchen table, I would turn off most of the lights, I would light a candle. So what I started doing recently to get through Rite of Winter is I started writing in the evening when it was dark out, where I could turn off the room lights and light a candle. And sure enough, it works. It works. Yeah, I mean, and if you want to paint and you can't, that's like Turgeon says, it's okay. Like that happens. Like there is no righteousness in sitting down and painting every day. There is like no righteousness in not. It's just the way that you are on any given day. It's your hobby, It's not life and death. Yeah, if you're making rules, seriously, that is a way to like that is a way to crash. Yeah, that sounds like burnout to me, Hyper. Either that or some point of like fear or expectation. But I don't know. I don't know your life. I don't know, I have no idea. With me, I've had days like that, and with me that would be the cause, but you are not me. The other time that happens, Hyper, with me, is if I don't go in with a clear goal. Like while I'm thinking about painting, when I'm thinking about painting before it actually happens, before I go to paint night or before I have my weekend paint stream. And like seriously says, make a small goal. But don't do it when you find yourself futzing. Go into the paint club saying, I'm going to paint this cape. That's what I'm going to do today. If it's all I do today, that's cool. And don't judge yourself. I know that's so hard, right? But yeah, if you futz around, like if you get frustrated with yourself, like, oh, I'm just futzing around, I'm wasting all this time, why did I even come, right? Then it gets worse, right? So... But yeah, seriously, setting that works for some people, but it's actually it can be problematic to set rules as well, because then you're actually putting more pressure on yourself, right? I can't do the thing I want to do until I do this other thing I don't. It's the whole eat your vegetables or you can't have dessert thing. It works for some people, but other people it does not. I would say there's quite a few people. It requires a certain amount of self-discipline to execute on that stuff. And a lot of us are low, sometimes very low, and some of us who are otherwise good at disciplining ourselves, just have weekdays, So it can work if you have the right brain for it. Yeah, routine. Yep. Yes, adding a new thing to the routine is hard. Yep. Right, so now the question, just like with me, Laura, I don't have my lunch hour at Reaper anymore, so I had to manufacture the same conditions later in the day, right here. After I've played computer games with David, and he does his own thing with his online friends, then I manufacture the conditions from my office at Reaper, and I do the thing then. So the question is, do you have a time in the day where you can manufacture the routine from your lunch breaks at work that you don't have anymore? Maybe after the podling goes down for bed or something, you can say, this is my break time from work, and I'm gonna write, right? Because that's what I really did have to do. I really down to making sure that it's dark other than the candle. I had to recreate the conditions. So I'm gonna grab some rich leather, guys, and I brought my yellow back in. I like this color better, but I feel like I need to shade around. I really just dabbed it on. I need to either glaze or shade. I feel like it's very uneven. Today's just a struggle day. I just decided that it's a struggle day. Yeah, it's a challenge, right? Yeah, see, so you know what's hanging you up. Then you're scared of the hard parts, right? So maybe maybe put it away. Just put it in a box. You can come back to it after you've gotten, past it. And pick a new model, but pick something that's very clean and simple. Maybe one of Christine's models. Because they tend to be clean and simple. And they really aren't, I find these models just really a joy to paint because they're not difficult. They don't have any really parts that are going to hang you up. So maybe if the difficulty is the fear point, maybe try to start a new model that's just, some of the earlier Bobby Jacksons are really clean too. Yeah, it sounds like you know yourself pretty well, Hyper. So kind of put your brain there and figure out, all right, well, if this is the problem, what's the fix? What's a fix that will work with the way that I think? But I have faith in you. You'll figure it out. I'm going to just glaze with this rich leather over the top of this. I don't like the chunky look I've got. And it's painting the textured surface that can be hard. When you're doing a defined pattern on a very heavily textured surface, it can really kind of screw with you because it's going to look messy. And if you like things to look neat, it can be like, arg, I hate this, right? That's where I am right now. Yeah, be goofy. Don't care. Yes. Although, just don't care is one of those things. It's funny. My coach Becca is currently doing. She did a poll asking people what they wanted her to cover at the convention, at her writing convention this year, and a lot of it was justs. Like, just do the thing. Just sit down. Just execute. Just paint that. Just do this. Just write. Just, open the manuscript. Just, it's all that. And so it's like, one of them was actually just don't care. And when people when they say these things, it's usually because they have developed the skills to do that, right? There's a particular skill chain that they've developed that they can execute with, right? But you don't have that thing necessarily, and so you hear that, well, just do that. Just sit down. And you're like, rawr, it's not that easy. But if you can be goofy, that I definitely find that's kind of the phrasing that I tend to use if I want to get there is I'm just going to see what happens. Like if you're worried about like painting a hard part of the model, then it's I usually tell myself, you know what? I'm just going to throw some paint on it and see what happens. Shrug. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But it's hard to like, yeah, rawr, yes. I find Rockies difficult. I do not find Rockies simple. Because of all the scales. All the texture. Did you get stuck because of a difficult thing, or did you get stuck for a different reason, Hyper, on the Rocky? I wonder if it's just stress, because it seems like you're unhappy about like the new meds and how they're acting with you. And health stuff can really kill your creative urge when you're battling it. It can really mess with you and your creative brain. I always think that I've gotten past it, and then it turns out that actually no, I haven't. And it was the fact that I was stressed out that was keeping me from doing work all along. So it's possible that that's just like kind of, yeah, it's possible that stress is just the thing, is that and the more you worry and the more you fail, the more that's going to feed into that cycle and make you stall out. Because then it's going to be like, oh no, I can't even do this anymore. I'm worried I'm going to stall out, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So worry and stress absolutely can do that. And there's not a whole lot you can do except to try coping tactics, or to move past the thing, or to change the med, or just give it time. Like if there is a time to get out. Like for me, scheduling all those health tests totally killed my urge to create. And I didn't think it was that. I thought it was something else. And then I got past my last appointment, and suddenly I felt great. I wanted to like write again. It's a B, PM. That's why we're doing the yellow and black. It's a bee warrior. It is Beefolk. It's a Honeythorn Knight by Jason Weeby, because he likes to do cute critters. So I wasn't happy with my indigo choice on the black, so I was messing around, PM. Yeah, for sure, Matt. Yeah, our expectations can totally mess stuff up for us too, as far as serious versus just for fun. Yeah, maybe you just need to paint something. Like, not try new things, not like focus on like trying to do blends or any of the thing. Maybe it's just like, maybe grab some board game models and just chuck them out. Maybe just base coat and wash. Like, honestly, maybe do that. Because and again, if it's just like, if it is stress or something like that, or worry and strain from another part of your life, it's okay not to do it at all. If you do not, if you get stuck and you get stuck again and you get stuck constantly, take a step back, do a different hobby. So I'm just putting some little bits of black in there to bring out some of this texture. But yeah, I think the best advice for anybody who struggles with resistance or getting stuck is just be gentle with yourself. Remember to be really nice to yourself. Don't get all judgmental. Don't get frustrated and say, what the heck is wrong with me? You know, just understand that sometimes it's hard. And it's okay. It's okay to get stuck. It's okay to muck around and not really make any progress at paint club. It's okay to just sit and hang with your friends and talk. It's all right. Whatever. We put all this pressure on ourselves sometimes. And maybe it isn't that we want to paint. Maybe it's just that we want that feeling that we used to have while we were painting, but now that feeling has gotten all weird, you know? So maybe it is time to just do something different. Or maybe, like I said, maybe it's time to grab a board game mini or something really, you know, some old Bones mini we don't care about, and just throw a base coat and a wash on it, do a highlight, see how little work you can do and still get a model that you're kind of like happy with it. And do that. Yeah, I mean, it's our hobby. We should never feel pressured to do it. But we do. We do, you know, especially in social pressure situations, we can feel like we're not being very good, you know, social company if we're just sitting there and not really getting anything done. Or maybe we're frustrated because we hoped that we could get something done and we ended up not. And that happens to the best of us, including yours truly. So just trying to bring in a little bit more texture around the stripes, kind of judging if I like it or don't like it. When I do that, though, when I bring in that, the yellow is not going to want to go over that black very well. So it can create a little bit of a blended experience if I decide I don't like it and I paint a little bit over it. It won't totally cover it, but it'll soften it. Like so. I do like this yellow better than the other yellow, though, so I think I'm going to keep that. Oh yeah, doing a model with instructions can help you get through it, right? Takes the pressure off because you're just following directions, right? Yeah. So maybe the problem wasn't the Rocky. Maybe it was just that you were trying to do a blend, and the blend and it maybe didn't go great the first time that you tried it, and it just stuck you up. Maybe you were just like, I don't know how to do this. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. You just never know. Brains are weird. Brains are weird. I think that's just like, I almost need a t-shirt that just says brains are weird. See, all the things that you're saying to me, Hyper, all the language you're using about how things seem hard when you have to make a decision, things seem hard when you have to push, things seem hard when you have to choose a new thing. All of that is telling me that maybe you're stressed out. And if you're not in burnout, that maybe the stress is giving you kind of that same experience. Like, because when, and again, maybe not, because this is me just pulling at my own like experience, but when I run into that, it's because there's an external source of stress, either medical stuff's going on, or I'm really nervous about something coming up, or I haven't slept well, something like that. And that's the problem. It's not me at all. It's something else that is just stressing me out, so that it's taking my energy for the thing. So I don't think I'd think there's anything wrong with you off the bat. I'd ask myself if there's something that is stressing me out, and it might be your meds, it might be, who knows, right? Um, but that is what you just described is exactly me over the holidays, when we had the in-laws in the house, and I was like, I was planning, I was scheduling all this medical testing, and even the thought of learning how to pick up a dropped stitch, the thought of going and even looking up how to do it, just exhausted me. Just felt too darn hard. And I thought I was burned out on something, but it turned out that it was just external stress. Yeah, blood sugar totally can do that. I've heard, Zachariah. Yeah, but yeah, maybe just be easy on yourself there, Hyper. Like, because if even thinking about doing something that should be fun, right? It's because it should be fun. Picking a new project, picking out new yarn. I mean, that's one of my favorite things in the world. Um, and if that tires you out, maybe you're just under pressure from just life. Maybe it's not a you problem at all. Not getting good sleep can also put me in that situation. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, much as it sucks. So I put the rich leather glaze over that yellow guy, so you can see how it took it a lot more golden. I like that a lot. Bad sleep club today, yeah. I know. It sucks. All right. So that's all right. So I'm going to keep going with my little highlights around the eyes then, and try to finish out the top part of the face here. Yeah, that's true. Laura has a point. I am always the terrible person for like actually asking for help, but she does have a point about having to talk with your doctor about it. Especially if you've just gone on a new med, but not even like just in general. Especially when it's not usual for you. Like when it didn't ever used to be like this, right? Be like that. Sorry. um, it is worth talking to somebody about it. That's just too much. A little bit too much paint on my brush. Yeah. I was lecturing my mom about it, and then I had to woman up because I'm like, all right, if I'm lecturing my mom about this, I have to do it. I can't be a hypocrite. I hate hypocrites, so I had to woman up and do it. Just trying to like get to a point here on the head of the bee where I'm a little happier. Little bee face. He's getting an expression now though. That's good. Yeah, I'm terrible about asking for help. Like I have to push myself. I always am happier after I do, But there's just a part of me that hates to do it. It's my repressed Midwestern upbringing there. Thanks, Mom. Yeah, and that can really, I mean, speaking from experience with Kiri, that can really do it, Hyper, because there's then your subconscious mind is constantly worrying about your poor dog. And that can create an unconscious source of stress, which absolutely can make you feel tired all the time. Or not able to like execute on new things. It just doesn't it takes up energy. And yeah, I kinda like these mouth parts. I'm gonna put a little bit more highlight in there. Yeah, that could be it. Absolutely. Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. No, I cannot. I have to. I'm very stern with myself on that. Because I don't like hypocrites, and so I refuse to be one. So if I'm going to advise people to ask for help, then I have to ask for help. Which has actually been a very good tool to make myself ask for help, if I'm honest. Oh, Lordy. All right. I'm going to grab some of this. That went a little bit bright, so I'm toning it down with a little bit of the indigo. I'm going to highlight the little end of that nose. Yeah, but stressing about our poor pets, our older elderly pets, or our sick pets is makes things real hard sometimes. I definitely feel it. Like when Kiki was throwing up, I was definitely starting to get that low-key stress in the back of my head all the time. Alright, I'm going to glaze this just a little bit. Create spot glaze. Must create spot glaze. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I gotta walk the walk. Because if I'm honest with myself, I don't respect people that talk the talk but don't walk the walk. And so if I want to respect myself, I have to. So I glazed it just a little. He's okay. Been kind of struggle on this model today for myself, and so I'm just like trying to get part of it to a point that I like. There we go. Thanks, Zachariah. I try. It should come as no surprise to anybody that understands the Enneagram that I'm an Enneagram 1. People who are obsessed with doing things the right way. Sometimes I have to back off and try to take it easier on myself. So I'm just tightening up my highlight a little bit on the bee eyeballs. And if I need to take this whole thing down to keep the look of it being black, I'll put a black glaze over it. But mostly I'm trying to like keep my highlights on the upper part of the face and keep a lot of black and black indigo. Yep, there you go, Hyper. Woo, breakthrough. Oh, Kiki, I can cheer Hyper Bunny on. Come on. It takes me forever to come to those realizations, Hyper. Like, I'm like, la 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 la, I'm just fine. And then I'm not fine. And I'm just like, oh, duh. Oh, woof woof. It's fine, Kiki. Yeah, Kiki was excited too. Yeah, see, I don't know. Like, I can't diagnose anything, but I would think that maybe you're just stressed out, Hyper. I would give yourself some grace. Just go to your paint club and hang out and chat, enjoy being with people and talking about the hobby. Have faith that your oomph will come back to you. Understand that, I mean, I hyper compartmentalize as well, so I totally repress my stress. I try to ignore it because I don't feel it's serving me, but it's still there and it's still affecting me. So just take a break. Kiki was cheering too. Kiki, do you want to come up on my lap? Do you want to come up and say hi to the stream? Do ya? Do you want to come up and say hi? Oh, do you want to bring your turtle up? You can bring your turtle up. Yeah, come on. You can give it to the stream. Come on up. You can do it. Come on, you can do it. She got out one of her puppy toys when she was sick. Somehow she has only chewed off the tail and otherwise not killed it. Yeah, but do you want to come up on my lap? Come on up. Yay, bring your turtle. Oh, there we go. There's Kiki with the puppy toy in her mouth, guys. There you go, Hyper Bunny. Kiki with the puppy toy. Oh, yeah. Very straight-laced and corporate. And your friends left. Yeah, geez, there's a lot. That's a lot, Hyper. Yeah, no, take it easy on yourself, man. Just like take a deep breath. Or 5 or 15 or 50. Yeah, give yourself some grace. It's probably that's probably a part of it. Even if it's not, like, even if there's more, I would bet you money that's part of it. And we do, right? We tend to, like, push our stress out of the way. Like, we want to kind of just ignore it, right, and move on. Because we hate being under stress. We don't want to dwell on it. So that's a thing. I'm going to get a little pure white and try to do some real pure white highlights and see what that looks like. Oh, man. Digital values are always... I've done this before, Fine Line, and I'm going to be honest with you. The best thing... There's not a direct analog there, because the camera is going to change the color of the picture that you've got, and any digital thing is going to be an approximation of the color. So it's not going to be a precise match. Like, I used to do this for a Reaper because we had to do swatches for our website, but we also did flyers that we had to print out, right? So we had to match the colors. And what we had to do for some colors is they would be great on the website. Like, I would eyeball it. We would create a swatch on the website that looked like the paint in my hand. But people with other monitors and other calibrations wouldn't be able to see it. It would look wrong when we printed it because there is no direct analog for those things. Like, digital light is different than printed ink is different than paint with pigments. So the best thing you can do, I'm not sure why if you're trying to do swatches for the computer, the best thing you can do is try to make sure that your monitor has this, like, stable calibration. Maybe look at a couple other monitors too, and try to get as close as you can. Just eyeballing it, or get somebody good with color to eyeball it and say, yeah, those look the same. I find that the digital devices are not all that great. I haven't looked for, 10 years. They may be a lot better, but I still even notice problems with my camera reading colors correctly. Especially when light color comes into it, because you're taking a picture under light. Maybe it's under fluorescent light, maybe it's under halogen, maybe it's under LED, maybe it's cool LED, maybe it's warm. All those things are going to change the color, that you're looking at. And so it's really fraught. It's really fraught. Like, I would ask you what exactly you're trying to do. So why do you need to do that? If you're trying to create a digital swatch for an acrylic paint color. Because the best one, if it's only going to be viewed digitally, the best way to do it that I always did was just to do it myself. Just to like get something close and then adjust the CMYK values until it looked right. Tweak it. Oh, yeah, it's getting later. Yes, yes, all the support, Hyper Bunny. Oh, yeah, if you're just doing it for yourself, then maybe. I mean, you could also just find a digital swatch online, maybe, of from the original company. Pop that into a Photoshop type tool. I use, oh man, I can't remember. Pixelmator Pro, that's what I use. And then just eyedropper it and then adjust it. Yeah, no problem. No problem, Hyper Bunny. You know I'm always like up on talking about the mentals, so I am more than happy to try to help you feel seen. And if we manage to kind of diagnose the issue is mostly stress, then if that turns out to be the case and you can move through it and past it and you get your creativity jive back, then that is awesome. Yeah, no problem, Fine Line, no problem. All right, I'm gonna do one little thing, and then we'll go a little long today. I had to go a little short another day, so. And tomorrow the maids are coming, and they're coming like toward the end of stream, so might need to leave a little early tomorrow. So we'll go a little late today. I'm gonna make some pure white. I'm just a couple drops. I'm gonna drop a drop of water into it, and then I'm gonna try to do little highlights on the bee face, just like it's like chitin or whatever, and shiny. And then we'll close down the stream. But I started a little late too, so because of David's classes, it totally threw our whole morning for a loop. Today, the rest of today though, I'm going to be wrestling with my own resistance because today is writing day. Because I finished my Patreon content one day early, which means that this day is all writing. So I am going to be utilizing all of these tricks to get myself to use this time wisely and to not freeze up. It helps that I'm to a part of the book where I actually know a lot of the coming scenes, and so what I really would love to do is sit down and write. It's a little white bits, see? Is to sit down and write up to the point where I can visualize, like the edge of it. Is David the Velma for Scooby Gang? Yeah, because he's the super smart one too. Yeah, I think he's the Velma. You know, I was just trying to figure that out. Not Shaggy, he was annoying. I might be a Fred. You know, wants to do the right thing, always trying to be logical, trying to help people. Good at heart, but, you know, kind of boring. I'm probably the Fred. Yep. It was Fred, right? Fred, Daphne, Velma, and Scooby, and Shaggy. There are times when I channel my Daphne, though. I probably could. But yeah, I am at times danger prone, so there are times I channel my inner Daphne. Alright, so just a little bit more highlighting. So you see how that brings out the little bits and gives our little bee a little bit of an expression. I'm not boring. That's the only thing. That's the only part of the Fred that I don't channel. I guess if I was really boring, you guys wouldn't watch me all the time, so I guess that part of the Fred analogy doesn't hold up. But then analogies are only generalizations, so they don't 100% fit. Just doing a little bit more wherever I've got highlight. Yeah, I do channel a little bit of Elmo myself. David and I are similar on that, but so really small amounts of paint on my brush here to do these super fine lines, guys. So we've got a bee with an expression, and a lot of the surface is still black. I'm keeping the underside of the antennae like almost completely black. I'm keeping the underside of the face like almost completely black or black indigo. Got a lot of black. Do I have some gloss? Yeah. The only gloss I have right next to me is the old microscale stuff, so which is really, really shiny. But I want to see how the eyeballs look with gloss, so I'm going to put it on. I really like the microscale gloss because it is goopier, it's thicker. Some glosses are really thin and so they don't get a super shiny. You have to put several coats on for it's just super shiny. And those can be nice. I mean, the Reaper gloss sealer's like that and it lets you build it up in layers. But this is the one that I've had for eons. Eons! And it's still good. No spider. I am not a big spider fan. David is gentle with them and carries them outside, but I am like, save me from this horrible creature. So we get that little shiny eyeballs. And we'll see how that, I'll look at it again and see how it looks. But I kind of like the shiny eyeballs. They're drying still. I might have to put another coat on. I mean, like I said, I got this like 20 years ago, so who knows if they still have it for Richard. But I assume this is to paint over decals too, so. But it's microscale microgloss, yep. I've carried it around for over 20 years because I really like it. All right. Well, we got some work done today, guys. Although it was a lot of painting over existing areas. Hyper Bunny. It still mattered. It still made a difference. You know what, though, I'm going to do? I'm actually going to put this color, this highlight color that I mixed, I'm going to put it over the wings because I think it's going to make a good base to get that smoky color I want eventually. We'll glaze it. We'll be doing black glazes, I think. So I'm going to put this down real quick. We're just going late today. I can't help it. Well, okay, I could help it, but I'm not. So yeah, hopefully today I get a fair amount of writing. The other trick that I've found, and this is the paint club trick, right? Going to paint club can help you to paint. It's, I think I mentioned it before, is my coach has a digital office, a Zoom room that is always up and always available. And so the writers just go there and everybody writes together. They spend like 10 minutes at the top of the hour just chatting, and then everybody sits down and writes for 45 or 50 minutes. And then again and again. Apparently there's a bunch of romance writers who are in there like all morning. But I did it once and it worked. Like I had people to chat with and I focused down and I got a lot of words done. So I'm going to use that today if I run into any trouble, to keep myself moving forward. I also, my coach This is funny. Like, it's funny how you can get in patterns with your creativity, your painting or your writing or your whatever, and not realize it until somebody's like, poke. So, you know how I'm always slow at the start of a novel, and I was telling I was telling Becca, my coach, that I was like, you know, I feel I'm not like as into this book. I feel like I'm not as into it. And she's like, but do you always start slow? Are you always slow at the start of a book? And I stopped and I was like, yes. So actually, there's nothing wrong with this book. It's just me being, I'm not as into this, but I'm not really thinking about when I wasn't as into the start of West of the Moon or the start of East of the Sun, right? Totally normal. So weirdly, my process is probably to write very slowly at the start of a book and only speed up when I'm over halfway in. All right, so what we'll be doing in a future stream then is we're going to be taking black and getting these veins drawn in, and then I'll be doing a black glaze over all of it to make it smoky. And I'm using the same colors I'm using to highlight the bee here, so I'm hoping it'll carry correctly. I'm hoping it'll look right. Yeah, Writers Club Hangout Room, yep. Thanks, Turgeon. Sink into your brain fog. All right, well, I hope that you can forge your way through the swamp, Turgeon. Take a deep breath. Read some stuff. I am happy with his face now, guys. I really am. Oh, and look at those little shiny eyes. I think I like the little shiny eyes, guys. I think we're going to do metallics on him. Yeah. Is he cute? I think he's cute. Painting group on Discord? On my Discord? No, but we can make one. It's easy to make chat channels. Maybe I should do that. Yeah. Alright, well, despite the fact that I struggled on him through most of this stream, guys, I think I'm pretty happy with the cute little bee face. So, yeah, it kind of gave him a little nose, and he's adorable. Alright. Cool, guys. Thank you very much. Yeah. Oh, scorpions. Oof. I do not miss being in a place where everything is poisonous. Well, not everything, but there are a lot of poisonous things in Texas. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great day. Tomorrow, we are back on Dragon. We're probably going to finish up the shield. Work more on gold. I might actually work more on the bone, and I might do a glaze on top of her head or bring up her scales on top of her head a little bit lighter. But yes. Hyper good luck with everything, and everybody, I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you again for the Friday edition of Reaper Pro Tips tomorrow. All right, everybody? Laters.